and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Eric Schweenard and I am a realtor with Hometown Realtors here in North Central Massachusetts. And today I want to talk to you about the first step in the home buying process to get you started. Okay, so you've decided to buy a home. And whether you're a first-time home buyer or, as may be the case, you're coming out of quarantine with this pandemic and realizing that either you have way more space than you need or possibly you don't have enough space for everything that you need to do from home. So whatever the reason, you've decided now's the time that you want to try to buy a home. So the very first thing you want to do when deciding to buy a home is to get pre-approved for a mortgage. A pre-approval tells you what you can afford to buy. It tells you how much the banks are willing to lend you so that you could purchase a home. Chances are with how easy it is to look for homes now online that you've already probably been looking. You've seen some homes, you've seen how quickly they're moving, you've seen the prices that they're going for. So you probably think you have somewhat of an idea of what you're looking for already. And that's great. That's only going to help you as you move forward. But before you start going and actually seeing homes or inquiring about homes, you really need to get a pre-approval first. Now, if you have an inquisitive mind, you may be asking yourself, well, why? Why do I need to get a pre-approval before I find the home that I'm looking for? Here's the answer to that. Now, let's say you find your dream home. And it's everything you've been looking for. You love the home. You went, you saw it with an agent. You decide that you gotta have this home. Now you start trying to get a mortgage. Now let's say you apply for a mortgage and you find out that you're only approved for $225,000 and the home is for sale for $285,000. Now guess what? You're now not going to be able to buy that home and you're going to be devastated knowing that you've now lost out on this home of your dreams. If you don't get a pre-approval before you start shopping for a home, if you're in a competitive market like the one here in Massachusetts, chances are you are putting yourself out of the game right from the starting line. Because if you don't have a pre-approval, unless you're sitting on a boatload of cash, the reality is you have no buying power without a pre-approval letter or a pre-approval for a mortgage. So it doesn't do you any good to find a home first if that home that you find is way out of your price range. So know what you can afford and then start looking so you're not disappointed. So in order to do that, you're going to have to find a lender to give you a loan for a mortgage. Now, there's a lot of different options available for you as far as what you want to do and how to go about getting a mortgage. Buying a home is most likely the single largest investment you're ever going to make in your life. And in some cases, it's the single largest investment you're ever going to make in your life multiple times. You want to make sure that you're working with the right people when it comes to spending the amount of money that it's going to cost you to buy a home. So this is why it's my advice to you to make sure that don't just go with one person when you're trying to get a pre-approval for a mortgage. Try 3 or 4 different companies. Try maybe a mortgage broker, try your local bank, try a credit union if you have access. The reason for this is that every lender has different requirements and works with different people for mortgages. So this bank that you work with, they might be great for your banking needs, but they may not have a lot of options for mortgages. They basically may have 3 different avenues for mortgages, and you may not fit exactly into one of those 3 paths, and therefore they're not going to be able to give you a mortgage. Whereas if you go with a mortgage broker, which is basically somebody that specializes in providing mortgage loans, they are going to have far more slices in the pie to be able to dish out to different people in different circumstances. So if you are maybe not, if you don't fit one of those 3 traditional avenues that maybe a smaller local bank might have, going with someone like a mortgage broker that has more options available is going to better suit you because they're going to have more options available. So take some time, meet with multiple lenders, and make sure that you're finding something that has the best fit for you and your individual circumstances, and make sure it's someone that you feel confident working with. Also, because this is a significant investment, you want to make sure that you're working with someone that you trust. You know, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, you want to make sure that you trust the person that you're working with, or at least believe that they're not just trying to make a quick dollar off of you. Another big thing to look for when picking someone for a mortgage pre-approval is make sure you're picking someone that communicates really well. Communication is really, really important when it comes to the real estate transaction process. All the way from getting pre-approved all the way to you getting the keys and moving into your new home, communication is going to be vitally important on all aspects. Anything you're going to do when it comes to buying a home or even selling a home is you want to make sure whoever you're working with, they communicate effectively and when you need them to communicate. Because having someone that communicates and answers questions and is there to answer your questions when you need them is going to make the process better experience. It's going to make it a better experience for you in the long run. Myself, when I bought my home, I went with a really large company for my mortgage, and it was a nightmare. It was a bad situation. I couldn't get a hold of the person. In the middle of the transaction, the coordinator that was overseeing my file was fired and replaced. And so I had about a 2-week period where I needed information from somebody and I couldn't get a hold of anybody because they didn't have anybody who was overseeing my file. All right, so I know what it's like to have a bad experience when it comes to a lender. So now that I'm in real estate, I find that it's my job to take what I've learned and to make sure that other people don't have to go through that same process. Also, you have to know that buying a home can be an extremely stressful and comprehensive process. The home buying process can be complicated at times. So when you're working with somebody, you want to make sure that there's somebody that communicates effectively and is going to take the time to make sure that you understand what's going on and to make sure that you feel confident knowing that they have your best interests in mind. Chances are you probably don't know a lot of the local options that are available to you. So how do you go about finding someone to talk to? Well, there's a couple of different avenues you can explore to find different options. The first one would be if you know anybody that's bought or sold or bought a home, whether it be your parents, it could be a friend, a relative, a friend of a friend. If you know someone that's bought a home, maybe ask them who they went through and what their experience was like. If they went through a local company and they had a good experience, and that might be worth exploring for you. Another potential option is if you know someone who is a realtor, or if you have a friend that's a realtor, or if you have a relative that used a realtor and they liked their realtor, maybe ask them who they would recommend. Once you receive your letter of pre-approval, so a letter that states that you are conditionally pre-approved for a mortgage, there are a couple of things that you should know up front. Obviously, you should know your numbers. So know how much you're pre-approved for. Whatever that amount is, make sure you know what that amount is. If there's a down payment involved, make sure you know how much that you need to put down, and make sure you have that money. If you are pre-approved for $200,000 with 3% down, but you don't have that money to put down, then you basically don't have a pre-approval until you come up with that down payment. So you need to make sure that you know how much you're approved for, what your down payment is. In addition, you want to know if you have any closing costs, what your closing costs are going to be, and more importantly, whether or not you're going to need some closing cost concession from a seller. Commonly here in Massachusetts, a lot of buyers will ask for some sort of a concession from a seller to cover some of their closing costs. Frequently, it's actually written into their pre-approval. So you need to know what that is, because once your agent is working with you and they're helping you find a home and they're trying to write a contract for you, they need to know what you need back so that they can then request that. Okay, so here is the absolute single most important tip that I can give you in this entire video, okay? If you get nothing else from this video, make sure you take this away. Once you get your pre-approval, so once you've received your letter that says you're pre-approved for a mortgage, the most important thing is do not make any changes. Do not change anything. A pre-approval is only good so long as the information stays the same. So if literally anything changes, that can affect your pre-approval like that. You know, some of the most common things we see is don't go out and buy a new car. Don't go out and buy a bunch of new furniture for your new home on your credit cards. Don't rack up credit card debt in general. Don't open a bunch of new credit cards. Just in general, don't change anything. Don't leave your job. Don't take a new position. Just until you get the keys to your home, just try to stay the course and don't make any big changes, and you should be all set. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and if you found it informative, please consider giving me a like and follow below so you don't miss out on future content. If you have any questions about anything I covered today, or if there's anything in particular you'd like me to go over in a future video, please feel free to leave me a comment below or find me on Facebook at ESC Realtor. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.